Hello and welcome to another episode of Scavenger Life. This is episode number 299 at scavengerlife.com.
Welcome, everybody.
Welcome.
We're glad you're here. Here is the deal. I'm going to start out with some numbers. I'm going to hit you with some numbers, okay? I was looking at our numbers in January.
Right.
And we sold on our main store 220 items out of its 5,500 items.
Wow.
So that's a sell-through rate of 4%.
What do you think of that number?
So I'm not one of those people, I do like to look at our numbers. However, I'm not as cool as the people that have like crazy spreadsheets and like I see people that sell on Amazon FBA and they have all these numbers. It's like,
yeah,
I'm not that cool. But so I was just thinking, so that's a 4% sell-through rate. And we don't judge ourselves on its number. I mean, one reason why I never look at it is like I don't really know what to make of that. Like it doesn't really matter to me if we sell 4%, 10%.
Right.
What's more important is how much money we make at the end of every week and every month. You know?
Can we make our ends meet?
I just thought that was an interesting thing.
Right.
I think the other thing is we don't, as far as I can tell, I mean, we don't really have any control over selling more or less. Why don't we talk about that? I think that was my kind of a lead into the topic I want to bring up right now, and that is what power do we have as someone that sells on eBay?
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
So, because, there's a lot of people out there that talk about, oh, you got to do this and that, and you got to trick eBay this way. Okay, so what real power do we have? Number one is the items we choose to scavenge. Number one.
Right.
If you see an item on a table at a flea market and you pick it up and buy it, like that's power right there.
Yeah.
And oftentimes we basically just go on gut instinct, right? I mean,
sure, gut instinct or past experience. I mean, it helps that we're not new to this. That helps. But if you are new to this, it's stuff that's interesting to you in your own life.
Yeah, I mean, anyone new, we always tell people that. They're like,
what should I buy?
What should I buy, and how do I know? And it's like, you just got to get started.
Just start.
And then every week that you've bought a bunch of items,
you've
researched it, and you've tried to sell those items, you'll then take on that a weekend scavenging at the flea market, and you'll have a whole week of experience.
You learn so fast. And to say in a business you have a week of experience, trust me, that's good.
And that builds up very quick. And also, really, there are only a set number of kind of items out there. I mean, at some point, there'll always be the weird random things, and those are always a fun treasures.
Right, yeah.
But for the most part, we end up seeing the same kind of things again and again,
Right, sure.
As we, so that's, and I would say maybe only 10% of the things that I pick up when I'm out there scavenging, I will actually take my phone out.
Right, sure.
And look it up,
Just if you're like, should I spend money on this?
Number two, then a next power we have as someone that sells on eBay is the photos we take.
Right.
I mean, there is a big difference between throwing an item in a dark corner and taking a picture that's blurry, versus someone that's either has a light tint or has a very well lit room on a nice table.
And has multiple photos. I mean, I shop on eBay. And I cannot tell you how many times I'm like, I think that's the thing I want, but I can't really tell, so I'm just not even going to buy from this person because.
I mean, I shop on I'm currently shopping on Craigslist. I'm trying to find some wood, some flooring, and I can't tell you the number of guys that take one single photo where it looks like they didn't even take it on purpose. And then I have to say, can I get a photo of this and this and this? And 90% of the time, they don't write back. I mean, it's like, do you want to sell this thing or not? So the way we imagine it is, you think of it like a magazine, or if you think of, I'm going into a store, I'm holding this item in my hand. Front view, side view, back view,
all
top
views.
View, back view.
Yeah.
It's close up of any words, any tags, And
the great thing is eBay gives you 12 photos.
Yeah.
I mean,
I can't imagine the days when eBay only had one photo.
You know what's crazy is that eBay didn't even require you to have photos in the beginning.
I know. But even just having one photo, and then what you to pay If you wanted more photos?
You'd have to pay, and what I taught my mom how to do is buy server space, so you could like insert it in your, and we've been doing that forever in the description. So yeah, I don't know. What's funny? I was looking at something yesterday on eBay that had sold, and they only had one photo. Huh. And I was like, "What are you doing?"
I mean, I think you can get away with that, but my point is that's just your power. It's like if you're trying to become a powerful person on eBay, and you're trying to control how many sales you have, you're going to do it yourself favors by doing good photos. Right. The third power you have is how you title your items, and that's the keywords to attract the right buyers. Right. And that's all about research. Yes.
Well, yeah, and like making sure that anyone looking for something similar to yours will find it with the keywords. Like, it's crazy when people just put 2 words, ceramic coffee mug. Right. What?
Or
that's crazy.
I mean, we do this every so often if it's a really weird item where there is just nothing else out there. But it's strange when people do it on very common items where they'll have like it's question marks and they're like, I'm not sure what this is. Like they'll put stuff like that in the title.
They're wasting title space. Yeah, it's really bad.
Or when people say estate find.
I know you hate that.
In the title.
You're like, it doesn't... Like,
why does that make it more...
The thing about that is, I'm like... I mean, as a scavenger, too, I'm like, I don't care where you found it. Right. I don't care if you found it on the side of the road. Right.
It doesn't
matter to me.
But the point is about the title is, and it's not... You're trying to stuff the keywords with incorrect keywords.
Right, you're trying to put
keywords. Every relevant keyword possible.
Exactly.
And that's what we do. And so that's power that you have, And then the fourth power that I could think of is how you price it.
Right.
And that's also having to do with its research.
Yes.
And that's really just a choice. Like, do you want to buy and hold?
Right.
And sell it for a good price, or are you just trying to get stuff out? And we've talked about this so endlessly, and everyone has different strategies, but that's a power that you do have.
Yeah.
I mean, so we have this 4% sell-through rate in January out of our store. I mean, if we wanted to get that up, we could just like cut our prices in half, and I'm sure that would push that its number up. But because what makes more sense to us is as long as we're making a good profit at the end of every month, then we feel good about what we're doing.
Right. If the numbers add up at the end of the week, at the end of the month.
And, we just finished our taxes, and we're actually meeting our accountant today to find out the final tally.
Right.
But it is interesting. Our profits are pretty consistent year to year.
Right.
I mean,
I know.
I mean, it's definitely grown over 2008, but I mean, I guess we've kind of plateaued. But we always try different experiments, but strangely, we get about the same amount every year. And I'm not complaining about that, but it is amazing when people say that they make, $300,000.
I know, and I'm like, how are they doing that? You know, if we've like. I mean, we have almost 6,000 items in our store. I mean, I'm just like, how are they making double what I make, you know?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
But so it's whenever we feel like there's something going on or we're not happy with the numbers, those are the 4 things we go to see if we're doing those things correctly. Sometimes it's we're like, well, let's start scavenging a different kind of thing,
Right.
Let's stop buying these clothes that sell for $12 and let's start focusing on artwork or something. The other thing we do is photos. We're pretty we've always done good. It's photographs,
lit, close-ups, as many photos.
In my opinion.
Well, sure. I mean, we stress that upon ourselves as well, where you're like, the light is horrible in here, I can't do it.
Titles, I mean, again, I think we've always been good at that too. We've always used every single character we
possibly can.
And we always,
exactly.
And then pricing. Pricing's really the only other thing. So what we choose to scavenge and then how we price them. That's the only other thing we kind of go back and forth between.
Right, with pricing.
Sometimes as we're like, let's lower these prices. Or sometimes like, let's ask for really strong prices on these particular things, or make sure it's, that we'll accept its best offer
Sure.
on things that maybe we hadn't been doing.
Exactly. Yeah. It's just, I feel like pricing is the most variable.
Right.
Where there are times where you're like, why'd you price that so low? And I'm like, I just wanted it to move. Or
Right.
you're like, wow, you priced that really high. Or, you price something and it sells in 10 minutes and you're like, okay, I guess that was priced correctly.
Yeah. But, I mean, just going to wrap this up, though. What control does anyone have over
Right.
their business?
Right.
If you run a car fix-it place or a
bike shop.
laundromat or whatever, a bike shop. I mean, any kind of business, like what control do you actually have? Like you cannot force people to
Right,
buy
buy
from
stuff,
you.
yeah.
I mean, you can do advertising.
Yeah, exactly.
But, what it comes down to is just you have a certain range of control. And then after that, it's like, sometimes people just don't want to buy what you're trying to sell. And I know that drives people crazy,
But that's retail.
And also, I think, and we have trouble, it's with us too, it's where like, yesterday, and we're going to talk about it, we sold $1,000
We had $1,000 a day yesterday.
which is great. But then the question is, then why haven't we sold anything today? Like, what's going on? And I cannot think like one day has anything to do with the next day,
right. Right.
And it seems easier to say, well, someone at eBay pushed a button and they're like, they've sold too much. Let's put this button
on hold.
because we have to spread out the sales. I mean,
that just cannot be the case.
I don't believe that.
Well, look,
and I just have to accept the fact that, we've done everything we can. We've loaded up our store. Our pipeline is full. And then we have those $1,000 days. And then we'll have a day where we make $50.
Right.
But the thing is, over a period of a month,
right,
those sales seem to even out. And we always make more than we need.
Right. And, we've talked to people who own brick and mortar stores, run brick and mortar stores, even people on Main Street in our town that we talk to, that we shop at. They'll say, look, we had a crazy, crazy day on Wednesday, and then nobody came in, the next day. And it's like, that's just how it is, It's hard to explain that.
Like we just talked to some guys, as we know, that had a bike shop in our town.
They had a bike shop, yeah.
And they just closed it after
8 years. 7, 8 years.
And they just said they tried their damnedest and they just couldn't get enough business. And they didn't have competition. It's just it wasn't a market for what they were doing.
Yep, exactly.
It's unfortunate, but that's what it is when you do business. Okay, let's talk about our week on eBay.
So yesterday
we had a great week in general.
Okay,
it was a great week, but yesterday especially was just a day where we had sales every hour.
Some of them were big sales.
We had, and these weren't like $12 and $13 sales. I mean, these were $80, $300.
It was just
$50. We had things that it was a good mix of bread and butter stuff and those high dollar. There was stuff that we had just put up, and we had stuff that we'd had forever. Right.
Yeah, it was just like, we're sitting there and every several minutes the phone's going off and we're just like,
yeah.
Oh, man, and today's one of those days.
And the only thing I do is just like, let's just ride this out. Like, let's see what happens, And, we were talking on it's forum 2, it's this week, where someone had been like, should I list specifically like every day? And, like if I have a bunch of the listings already done, do I spread them out over time?
Or just do them all at once?
And we're just like, just list it, because we never know what day people are going to buy. We just list when we can.
Yeah.
Now, you and our helper had a really good week of a listing. Like,
we listed a lot of stuff. Got
through a lot of stuff.
Yep. I still have a bunch of stuff I have to list from her because I kind of get behind, but it helps having someone help us. And I work those 4 hours too.
Right.
She's here for 4 hours. I mean, I'll come back and forth. I'll do some stuff in the house and then I'll go back and I'll sit at my computer and I'll mix it up a little. Like, honestly, because I can't work 4 hours straight. I'm like, I gotta take a break. You keep working. I gotta take a break.
Tough life.
Yeah. Like, I gotta go make some coffee for like a half an hour. But I already know that about myself, like that if I'm sitting there, I start to feel burnt out. So I'm like, I'm going to take a 10-minute break and then come back and then,
I mean, and I worked many jobs is like this. Most people work like 8 hours straight, or, they have a lunch break that they'll work. just straight, and it's
yeah, but we talk about that now, where we're like, people aren't really, because
right.
they're like on Facebook, or they're like,
yeah. I mean, yeah, like office jobs, that's for sure. But
office jobs, yeah.
I've worked a lot of menial jobs.
Where you just work all day,
work at grocery stores, work construction,
right.
and just
yes,
and it's pretty full on.
Yeah,
I mean, I remember being like 15 years old and working. Maybe I was 16 and working in a grocery store as like a sacker,
Yeah, you just work.
And it's just like, you had a half-hour lunch break.
Yep.
You had a 15-minute breaks every
4 hours.
4 hours, but those would kind of come if it wasn't busy.
Right.
And I just remember being at the end of the day like, oh man, I'm exhausted. You know?
Yeah. But I mean, that's why we do the work we do and have the lifestyle we do, so we don't have to do that.
No. It's
I'm
a total.
I don't have to work 4 hours straight.
But I just, it's always good for us to remember how good we have it.
Oh, absolutely.
And that we've created the
situation
for ourselves.
Yeah.
And it is interesting that since we've had this helper and we're listing a lot more consistently, that we're starting to sell a lot more stuff right when we put it up.
I've noticed that. Yep.
I don't know what percentage of stuff. It just seems to like.
I don't think it's a lot more. I just think it happens more often because we're listing more often.
Okay.
It's just you list stuff and some of it sells within a couple days or even sometimes within an hour, and it's just because that's what's available. I don't think it's like way more than before.
It's like 90%.
No, it's
right?
not. It's not even close to that. I mean, the percentage of stuff we list versus like how much sells within the week is
like,
you notice it more because you're like, hey, I just listed that instead of like I sat on that for 6 months.
Right.
So I don't know. I don't think it's a lot more, but I think we just notice it more. That's all.
And, we started getting back into selling its clothes.
Yes.
I don't know, maybe 4 months ago or so.
Yeah, a couple months this summertime.
And plus we had gone through those big tubs of death piles we had of like ties, belts, scarves, which I think of clothes. And, that stuff is so easy to find.
Yeah.
It's so cheap for us to buy, but really it really has made a lot of a lower dollar sales.
Yes, because you just can't sell that stuff for that much unless it's designer, but it's not.
Yeah, I don't know. So it's always amazing to me when I hear people who sell clothes and they say their average selling price is like $30. When I look at people that sell clothes and I look at their store, I'm like, they're selling a lot of like $12 items, like
$12, $15.
Like, who are these people that are consistently selling clothes that average $30? Because, that's a good price.
Yeah, 30 is good.
But it's good to. It definitely. Now that we have a helper, it's so much easier to process that stuff.
Oh my god!
We go, we buy,
just pile it up.
A big pile of clothes. We give it to her.
Yep.
And she'll get through a big pile in a day or so.
Exactly.
And then they're up at the end of the day. And she'll write the description.
Well, that's what's amazing to me is we can go shopping one evening at a thrift store, come back, put it on the pile, and it's listed within 24 hours, less than 24 hours.
Yeah.
And like you said, some things will sell. And you're like, I just bought that yesterday, and it's already out the door.
I mean, Ryan doesn't believe me, but especially now that we have a helper who's working 20 hours a
No,
week?
it's not 20. It's
16
like
hours a week?
15, 16.
We could, in the next 2 to 3 months, be caught up.
Yeah.
Which has never happened.
Ever happened. Like caught up, whereas we're like, we have to go shopping tomorrow because I don't have anything for her to do.
Yeah, like, can we buy enough for her to work, 16 hours a week?
Yeah.
So I also just want to give an update. So we do experiments.
Yes.
And we started an experiment a while ago, kind of when we started
I think it was last summer, yeah.
When we started to sell clothes again.
Yeah.
We hopped on it's measurement experiment. So
basically I would just put the size that's on the piece of clothing.
Right.
On the listing. That's it.
Like on a modern piece of clothing, it's not on like old vintage stuff, but just like on a Nike jacket.
Right. You're like, it's a medium.
It would say it's something on the tag. It should show the tag, but I wouldn't do all its measurements. And honestly, it was a failure for us.
People are consistently asking for measurements.
Yeah.
And people, like, there was this skirt that I had the label size and I had the waist size, but I didn't have the length. It was like an above knee skirt, which also is in the item specifics, but this person would not leave me alone.
Right. Well, I don't want to say it's like that. I mean,
right.
We weren't getting like the annoying people who we wouldn't want to sell to anyway.
Right.
Just reasonable,
right.
normal people asking.
But that's what I'm saying. Is like they kept asking me about it. I'm like, I just gotta put this measurement in the listing and write to them. Right. So it sucked for me that it was missing.
And I think we were getting maybe 4 or 5 questions a week consistently.
Yeah.
And again, not from the kind of people that I would choose to ignore, but just some reasonable
regular people.
And I think we've just come to decide that if we want to sell more, doing the measurements is a good thing.
But the thing is, with my helper, I'm not making her do every single measurement. If it's a t-shirt, we say, okay, say the size, and then give me the chest measurement. And, like, that's going to give someone a good, like, you're a 40-inch chest. Okay, so this, like, 42, 43, that's going to fit you. It's fine. So, I'm not like, the sleeve, the shoulder. I'm just like, no, just do the chest measurement,
Yep.
And for skirts, you want to do the waist and the length.
Yep. And pants?
Pants, inseam, and waist.
Gotcha.
She hasn't really done hats.
Okay.
And so what do you do for hats? Most of them are snapbacks anyway.
If it's not a snapback, then you do the
circumference.
Circumference.
Yeah.
Okay. I was trying to trick you.
She did hats for like 2 seconds and then you stole them all back.
Yep. Because I can
you
do
like
those.
doing hats.
Yeah.
Because they're fast for you.
I can still do some things. Shoes are still my thing.
Okay.
They're mine.
Fine. If you want to work, that's great.
Okay, let's talk about the scavenge of the week.
Did we?
We didn't do any scavenging.
Why are you even like scavenge of the week when we didn't even... Do we buy anything this week?
We didn't buy anything. We didn't do any scavenging. We were busy with other projects.
Busy, yeah.
And just working through piles we already have. So, it's always amazing to me when I hear of people who say they scavenge, 3, 4, 5 times a week. I'm like, that's incredible.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Maybe that's because you're in an urban area and you're always driving around anyway. So when you're going somewhere, you stop by this one place, and that's how the scavenging works.
Right.
But for us to scavenge, it can be worked into like just a trip somewhere else.
Yeah.
But we have to actually go somewhere. If we're choosing just to be kind of around our home, there's no time to scavenge.
Yeah, I mean, we and like you said, I mean, we were really busy with other things this week, and we just had to be on top of that stuff.
Okay, let's talk about our numbers. How good was our week? So, on our main store, we sold $2,400 worth of items.
What? I wish every week was like that.
Which is great. That's over $300 a day.
We love $300 a day. Man.
I mean, if you can if we could do that every week, that's when it's gross like, over $10,000 a month.
Right, exactly.
I mean, obviously, there's cost of goods sold. There's also the 15%, 13% of PayPal and eBay,
right?
And then all the other little expenses that could come out. But that's amazing.
Right.
Store number 2, we sold 11 items for $250, $275.
Yeah.
Which was also good. I mean,
there were several. I mean, there were some days where I had to ship 4 things out of that store, which is unusual.
It's going to be interesting to hear on a forum from other people if they had a good week too. Like, was it just a good week in general? Like, for some reason people were really buying? I don't know.
Yeah.
And then we sold a couple things on Bonanza.
Bonanza, we sold... you know what? It's so bad. I can't remember. Oh, we sold electronics, like a little Chromecast thing. Yep. And there was something else. Yep. I forget now.
Bonanza. It's just like a little bonus,
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about some things we sold, because we sold some cool things that were exciting.
Okay.
Number 1 is a lesson.
This is not the one I painted.
It's not?
This is a different one.
Oh, okay.
It looks just like that. But
then
I think I sold that clock a while ago.
You did? Okay. So the first thing we sold that I would like to talk about is a lunchbox.
A metal lunchbox.
I bought, I know some people do a lot of this. They buy their items through online auctions.
Right.
You know, they're basically, a lot of auctions are now just going purely online.
Not eBay.
Right.
That's not what you mean. You mean like independent auctions that are
like
just
a place
online.
that would have an auction in person where they're doing estates. A lot of them no longer do it in person; they just do it online.
Yeah,
and then you either have them mail it to you or you go pick it up.
Right.
I've fooled around.
We've done a little bit of that.
And
yeah.
This is what I did, and I bought a big thing of lunch boxes.
Yeah.
And this was a Muppets one, and we sold it for $75.
Yeah, it was a good one. They were all like from the 70s and 80s.
Like Gremlins.
Yeah, there's Gremlins. That one sold last week. But they're not like super high collectible ones. Number one, because they were used. Like the ones in mint condition, you can sell for like $200. Right. But the ones that are used and are not super rare. I mean, look, $75. I'm happy with that.
I bought all of them for $20. So
yeah, okay, that's
we've
great.
already sold 2 for about $75.
Yeah,
so that's great. The other thing we sold was it's ceramic hand. I don't know how else to describe it.
Yeah,
it's
it's almost like an ashtray, but we bought it in Amsterdam, and it's like this orange kind of like retro glazed, like I forget what they call it, like
you could put jewelry. Anyway, it's $45. I just bring it up because again, we bought it in Amsterdam a couple of years ago.
Yeah, it was a couple.
Paid like $1 for it, and it's so crazy that we bought it there.
Yeah,
had to gently pack it, brought it all the way back, and now it's sold.
It's funny.
But I think of that trip, and I think of the day we bought it, and I think of what we spent that day. Getting a coffee, probably having some lunch, and then I think, but then I bought something for $1 and sold it for it's $45. Like, help pay for the whole day.
Yeah, exactly.
I think when we go and live someplace else, it's nice to be scavenging because I know I'm paying for the trip that
eventually.
Way. Yeah. Its next thing is, I bought like this big box, like some high school student in the 60s did a rocket project,
like model rocket.
Like he had messaged it's NASA, and they sent him blueprints and papers, and this guy built a model. It's rocket, and we parted it all out, and so
So one was like a box of like paper rockets. We sold that a while ago.
Yeah, like rocket parts, and this we sold for $75. It was his. A model, a blueprints of it, and it's cool. I don't know why someone would want this. I assume it's either someone into that kind of thing, or it would look cool if you framed it. It was
the tomahawk.
Yeah.
So he had all these like almost like a report, and then there was I think in this thing is like the letter from NASA, like, hey, here's all this stuff.
But again, going back to collectors, this is one of those things. There's someone out there that wants to gather this stuff, and so I saved it from the garbage.
So this next one is this cool like little Art Deco. It's actually made out of copper. I think it's like copper and enamel. It looks like a bulb, and then the top is like a triangle.
They call it. There's a certain word for it. Right?
I forget what it's called.
CHASE, chase.
Oh, a chase. Yeah, I don't know. The brand that's famous for this is a Chase, I guess, but I don't think it was that brand. But yeah, for some reason we were getting all these low offers on it forever,
and people would be like, you'll never get what you're asking for.
I mean, we were asking, I think, 125, and people were like, here's $30, and we were like, no, this thing is awesome. And someone bought it best offer for $105.
Yep.
I was like, there you go.
It took a while. It was nice. Something we bought recently at an auction. It's like a plastic ball. So Ryan calls it a bowling ball.
It looks like a duck pin bowling ball to me.
Or it's not plastic. It's like acrylic. It's see-through. And someone had like taken apart a clock. And like, so it looked like all these clock pieces
were suspended.
Are floating. And it's just a weird item. I mean, it's definitely not a bowling ball, but it feels like it. I just can't imagine people that play duck ball would have this eclectic. I mean, it's like a piece of art. So people are bowling with this eclectic piece of. So anyway, we sold it for $95.
It sold within a day of listing
and
it.
This is one of those things where, I always hate when when people do this, but I guess you had to. Like in the title, it was like, it's question marks and like, what
did
is this
did
thing?
I don't think I did that. I think I did it in the description. I was like, because I didn't want someone to be like, this isn't a duck pin bowling ball. Because I wanted to be like, I told you I didn't know if it was or wasn't. I just said, it's cool. It feels like a duck pin bowling ball. It's about that size and weight.
Oh, in the title, it was weird ! I
had to do that because it was these like vintage clock parts suspended in an acrylic ball.
No.
Like,
I mean, I don't envy you. It is strange. It is hard when you have an item that really feels like it's one of a kind, where there's no guidance as to how to.
Right, you're just keywords. Like, what? But it was funny.
It worked though.
Well, and the funny thing was, I was like, I'm pricing this high because number one, when we were at the auction when we bought it, everyone was staring at it. What is that? That's so weird. It's cool. And then our helper and I we were making jokes. We were like, I feel like this should be in that movie Labyrinth with like David Bowie, like show,
But I wonder what keyword is that got her.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, a couple. It's more things. We had talked about this a while ago. About a month, we went to a Goodwill.
It was a Goodwill,
totally junky, just a Goodwill.
There was nothing.
It's like a TJ Maxx now. It's like all this clothes, and then I'm in like the corner where they have all the junk. That's the place I love.
It was a lot of junk.
And I found a box, and there were all these paint by its numbers that were kind of like wrapped up, and it had $1 on the whole thing.
They were wrapped up in saran wrap, like this big like pile.
We brought it home. We've listed them all because of our helper, and we sold 2 of them. Like it's within 4 hours. It was great.
And we paid $1 for that whole thing, and we already sold 2.
One for $20 and one for $40. So
that's
we've already
$40. Okay, I wanted to kind of move those a little fast because on paint by numbers, I price them really high.
And then the last thing I wanted to mention is we sold these 2 hard drives. Computer hard drives for $200. And those we just found too at an auction. And this is something that Ryan didn't believe, which I can understand why. I mean, used electronics are tough. Number
hard.
One is there's no way for us to test these things.
At the auction, you can't test
them. I bought, 5 of them?
There's 6 of them.
6 of them for $10. And I just did it as an experiment. But as Ryan came home, tested them, they worked. And we sold each one for $100, and 2 of them sold quickly.
Well, what's funny is we sold 2 of them for $100 each, so $200. And then there was another one that was a different brand that sold for $30. So I've been selling them, which is great.
It makes me kick myself because there was actually a whole table of all these drives, and I could have had them all for $200.
But it was hard because we were like, what if we buy them and they're all corrupted?
Right.
And the crazy thing is, this is what's crazy to me about the auction house too. They sold them, and I plugged them in, and they had all these files on them from this guy. I was like, boy. So I clearly deleted them and erased them through my Mac, like completely erased them and reformatted them. But yeah.
Okay, customer issues.
No customer issues.
We had no customer issues.
No
it was
returns,
a good week.
nothing.
No returns, no problems, no anger, no unhappiness. It was fine. Okay, things we learned in the forum. Number 1, if you do not know, we have a forum now that's associated with this podcast, and we'll put the link on the blog, and it's really been good. I like the new format. It's better than just having blog comments. There's now categories and
random thoughts. You can do
there's a good
anything.
Group of people on there. Someone was mentioning about how we're talking about being a scavenger, and we sell to people who gather stuff.
Who are collectors.
And some people, as we're saying, well, they're kind of both. And they had this thing where they like to find stuff.
Yeah.
They like to put it on their walls or their shelves and then sell it. So they keep it for as long as it's on sale.
Right.
So that way their house can kind of change.
Sure.
And I think that's an interesting idea. They can put their furniture, they buy furniture, rugs, artwork.
Right.
Collectibles,
Yeah.
I mean, we kind of do that, except ours isn't really something that looks good.
Well, there are things, we have some artwork at the farmhouse that is for sale, so when it sells, we kind of have to pull it off the wall.
And I like what people said. It's like they put a price on it, like buy me out, you know,
right? And we've done that
like,
too.
I really is like this, but if you pay me enough,
I'll take it off my wall.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yes. I think that's a fun way to think about it.
Yes, absolutely.
The other thing, and I think this is an interesting link that you should check out.
Yes,
we're not on Facebook.
Right.
There's it's nothing wrong is with Facebook. We've just chosen is not to be there. But Facebook has a marketplace now. This started a couple of months ago, but it's more like it's Craigslist.
Right.
People could go and just find each other, and then they figure out how to pay. They supposedly now have a payment option through PayPal. So to me, that could be a game changer. I mean, there's enough people on Facebook. If you could go on there, see a photo of something, and then pay a person electronically, that's huge. That's a big deal.
But your question was, well, number one, they're not charging a fee for that, and I think eventually they probably are going to. And number two, what is the safety for both buyer and seller?
Well, that's the barrier to entry to compete against eBay or Amazon is, both of those companies have, a huge army of customer service reps, So if I buy something from someone on eBay and I pay them and then they don't fulfill their side of the bargain, eBay has a system that's
resolution system
that's very expensive for them to keep up to make me feel safe. And so in this case, if I pay you on Facebook for an item and then you don't come or the item's broken,
what's the recourse?
Who do I get mad at? Because if I don't feel safe, then I'm not going to go there and buy stuff.
So I guess I wonder if it's like this, where you're like meeting up with someone, say you're buying a piece of furniture and you're in person and you're like, great, I love it, I want it, let me get on my phone and pay you through this in this moment. I don't know. I don't know. Why not just pay cash?
Then that's just not interesting. I mean, I guess the way it's a game changer is if I can go on some Facebook group and see an item I want and I'm in Houston and they're in Seattle and I could pay for it and they ship it to me. I mean, basically,
it's like
competing against
eBay. It's the eBay killer.
That would be huge.
Right. Yeah. So I would love to hear more about that. People who are active selling stuff on Facebook.
Well, and then that's my other question is that from what I've read about people buying on Facebook or selling on Facebook, like, is it just like a yard sale? The way I've seen things is prices are super cheap. Like it's basically people just trying to dump stuff. So it's a good place to buy kids' clothes or you're buying things. I hear a lot of eBay people buying stuff on Facebook
to source, to
sell.
Exactly.
Because it's so cheap.
Right.
But if you wanted to sell on Facebook instead of selling on eBay, could you get the same kind of prices for things?
Or is it one of those things where you're like, for us, maybe we're like, okay, I do want to move this furniture out, and Facebook is where people are looking in our area, in our town.
Right.
And it might not be eBay prices, but it might, like, move out some bigger inventory. I don't know.
I mean, we obviously don't know a lot about it, but it's an interesting idea. And if you go to the forum where you can see that link, you can explore that more. Okay, let's answer questions from people that have called them in.
Okay, you can always call our voicemail line and leave a message. The phone number is 540-407-8486, and you have 3 minutes to leave a message.
Hi, Jay and Ryan. This is Dawn from Chicago, and I was calling in regard to your question about how to organize your larger space that you're going to be building. So not an organization expert at all, but once upon a time I used to work for Walmart right out of college. And if you think about the way a Walmart store is set up, when you go in, it's got a health and beauty department, a sporting good department, houseware department, cosmetics, etc. And then within those departments, there's even a further organization process. So when I worked there, I had worked overnights at one point, and the back room is set up very similar to the floor, where each department has its own aisle, and then within those aisles, there are shelves, and then within those shelves, there are bins. So it's like a 3-step organization process. It's kind of an interesting way to think about it because they are a big sell everything type of store, and that's really what you guys are as well. So if you think about your product in terms of departments, it might help you come up with your own unique organization. Just thought I would throw that out there. Have a great day. And, I've been listening to you for years. I absolutely love it. Keep doing what you're doing. Thanks. Bye.
So, yeah, we love hearing how different people organize. We love how different businesses do it. So this is good feedback. I mean, we're still 6, 8, 12 months. I'm not sure when we'll build this building and do it. But that is an interesting thing, to do it more the Amazon way.
Right.
Where just everything's just mixed up. It doesn't matter, but everything has its location. And I think I like this way, where everything's still separated by kind, by category.
Right.
And then within the category, it can be in, it's like it's bathroom, A1 or something box.
Right. So you're like, so you have like a double system of, if for some reason it's not in here, what would be the other category?
Right. I mean, like, so if it's not in bathroom box 1, it's probably in bathroom box 1 through 5.
Right, sure.
But if you do it the Amazon way, it's like, if it's not in box 1, it could be in box, 200, no one knows.
But people have talked about organizing boxes with numbers by date that you listed, which is the Amazon way, sort of.
Is it?
Yeah, where you're like, okay, you listed this on February 15th, 2017, and you've coded it that way. But
then what happens if you then 3 weeks later put stuff on top of that?
Right. That's a good point.
Well, then maybe in that box is like, this is stuff from February 1st and from February 21st.
Right. And we've done that when we do fabric, we do it by numbers. But then when we start consolidating bins, we take the tape off one bin and we put it on the next bin. We're like, okay, this is 853, but it's also, 532. And you just look at the front and find it, But,
I mean, I think it's for us, it doesn't have to be that complicated because, it's not like we're dealing with a system with like a million items.
Yeah.
It's more, number one, is we just need more space. You know? Right now, our storage is getting really crowded.
It's really full.
And stuff is getting kind of piled up into corners, so it's hard to get to. So if we have more space, then we can kind of spread out some. But the other thing is too, we just do need to have some kind of labeling a system, so as we know that this item is in this box,
right? Because my issue is like, for things that are like items, we had this like rifle. It was a rifle soft case, it was like a rifle bag almost, and I'm like, is it in bags? Is it in fabric? But it ended up being in this bin that we call camping and military. And I'm like, I would not have looked there except I saw it sticking out. Right. That's the only reason I was like able to find it. And so it's kind of like, if this was bin number 6 and that was on the listing or on a spreadsheet or wherever, I would have just been like, it would have taken me 1 second to find it, and
So I like to hear that. So I'd like to hear the Walmart way. That doesn't make sense.
What were you going to say?
That's it.
Oh.
Hey, guys. This is Jamie in Northeast Indiana. And I only sell used car parts. And as it's got a completely different rhythm than I think most of the stuff that other people sell. Around Christmas time, usually November and December, it's a pretty dead period. And it picks up in January and February as people get their checks for their tax returns, and also it'll pick up in August as students start getting their checks to buy cars, and the dealers start prepping up their cars. I was just curious if you can think of any other categories that have very different rhythms as far as selling, as far as buying patterns go. Thanks. Love the show.
Yeah, that's a very good question of like, are there categories? Typically Christmas time is it. The holiday season is when we all sell all of our stuff because everyone's just buying for the holidays. But things like car parts, I'm not buying my grandma, a starter, a carburetor for its Christmas. So I wonder if there are other things like that. I'd love to hear. Maybe people can call in if they specialize.
Yeah, I would love to hear that.
I love the idea of selling used car parts. If I was that kind of guy and I was that kind of scavenger.
You could part out cars and stuff.
I would just be buying junky cars and parting those things out.
And taking off the mirrors and the handles.
I mean, it drives me crazy. There is a place maybe 20 miles from where as we are. We always drive past it.
Yeah.
And it's a junkyard.
Yeah.
This guy has a junkyard. He's got, it's probably 5 acres of just cars. And I'm like, it's a gold mine. It's more traditional where you go in there and he'll let you go find a part and then he gives you a price.
Right.
And you have to pull it off it yourself. But man, if he had like a system where he had like a warehouse and he just paid a guy to be just parting out seats and steering wheels and all the things inside, it just seems like it'd be a gold mine.
And people do that. Some people do that.
This would actually be an interesting interview if you'd be interested in doing that. I'm not sure how exactly you get your parts, but if you want to email us, maybe we could talk about it some. It seemed like it'd be a fun interview.
The email that you can email us is thescavengerlife@gmail.com.
Yeah.
Hey, what's going on, scavengers? This is Roy calling from Pennsylvania. I think I had my first eBay troll this past week. The purpose of my call was just pass along, when you go to take offers or look at offers on a best offer, one of the things, I think it's very easy on the phone to kind of get the offer and say, oh, I'll take it, but one of the things that I noticed is I had a little bit of a difficult time seeing feedback left for others by potential buyers who make offers. And boy, did I make a mistake. I did take a best offer on an item, and this person was just really terrible from the very beginning, every step of the way, just nasty. They left me a terrible negative feedback. But I did call eBay and, tried to work with them, and I am happy to report that they opened a case because the buyer didn't even use the return label. They had issues with my item, all of which I had pointed out in my description. Remain professional, people, when you're in the back and forth with buyers, because you never know. eBay basically opened a case and ruled in my favor, had the feedback removed, and actually I did refund the buyer since they did actually end up sending the item back, but eBay actually refunded me back. So I was able to, relist the item and move along. But wow. And just in turn, you guys always talk about, being at the mercy of an employer, but if you're a full-time eBayer, this is one of those things where what are your thoughts on, people kind of taking advantage of the system per se, and can, really kind of try to go after you. And this person, they have a track record, which was something that I did mention to the eBay rep. They had left 6 or 7 nasty emails, negative comments on people's accounts. And, so I added that. Just thoughts on that. Thanks.
Okay. This is a great, story, and it's good for a couple of reasons. Number one is I never do that. When we get an offer, I never think to look at people's feedback.
Either.
I just assume the best, and it normally works out. And that's a second thing. I mean, the number of trolls or like really problem people that have caused this a problem, I could count on both my hands.
Yeah, it's not
over 8 years, and so that's a good thing. That I think that eBay is most people that come on, they just want to buy their item and get it. But it's also interesting for you to tell the story of that eBay backed you up.
Yeah, they backed you
we
up.
always hear from the people where, eBay is like destroying their life, and, I get that, but this has been our experience.
Right. What you explained has been our experience.
Right. And it's good. It sounds like you probably called them, or it's respectful and courteous and acted as like a pro.
Right.
And customer service reps want to fix a problem. And it's like you said, if a buyer has a history of like leaving negative feedback, the customer service reps are normally,
they
this
see
is a
the
problem.
issue.
Yeah.
Right. I think the only time that I really looked at someone's feedback was actually last week. Remember, this lady wanted those books, and we had already accepted the offer, and she was like, please bubble wrap each one individually. And I looked at her feedback, and it was private, and I was like, oh, God.
No. But then, you know what? Just the good story to that.
Right.
She gave us good feedback.
She got them. She said they were packed well, which they were.
Right.
Although they weren't individually bubble wrapped, but they were fine.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that you called, because, it does stink to have cranky buyers who are being a little, nasty and weird. But eBay backed you up, and you solved the problem professionally.
Yeah.
And it didn't ruin your life. It didn't ruin your business.
Yeah.
You dealt with it.
Right.
It's annoying. And
It's
that's
like,
it.
I think the good piece of advice is not what happens, it's how we
you dealt with it. Yeah.
deal with it,
Yes,
how we
exactly.
respond to it.
Exactly.
Trust me, there are things that happen in eBay every week where I could let it ruin my entire week, but
Exactly.
it's just not worth it. But I'm glad that worked out. Well done.
Hi, Jay and Ryan. My name is Ian. I'm a Western Canadian flipper. I sell on eBay pretty small time. Just wanted to thank you guys for all the information you share with us every week. It's been invaluable to me. I have a question about lots. I've been selling this Wedgwood Pen9 kind of fine china set. It's quite attractive. And I can't quite figure out the right way to sell this on eBay. I have a whole bunch of different pieces, 5 plates, 4 mugs, a salt and pepper shaker, et cetera, et cetera. And buyers, I'd like them to be able to kind of customize a lot. So what I've been doing as a kind of a workaround is just people message me and say, I want X, Y, and Z, and then I'll offer them inside the listing for the entire lot. I'll offer them kind of a customized sub-lot. But I worry about maybe that's not going to fly with eBay as a contract, if you know what I mean. What I could do is list multiple quantities of plates and multiple quantities of the mugs and stuff, but the issue I run into there is I don't want to sell one plate for $10. I want like a minimum order dollar amount, basically. I just wondered if you'd run into that problem before and how you guys kind of work around it, or maybe there's some eBay functionality I'm missing there. Anyway, thanks a lot for your podcast again. Take care.
So, number one, XYZ. I love that Canadians and Brits say Z instead of Z.
Yep.
That's like so amazing to me. But I'm going to start this one out here. The thing about number one, I hate selling China. Hate it.
But we sell it.
But I do sometimes. But the thing is, I think you're making it too complicated. If you have 4 mugs, sell those 4 mugs. Here are 4 mugs. Someone who is collecting this pattern and they need those 4 mugs, they're going to buy those 4 mugs. If you want to do the plates, if you're like, say you have 10 plates, you could either sell all 10. This is how I would do it. Other people might do different. You could sell all 10 plates, or you could say, I have 2 plates and I have quantity 5 of those. And you just put the quantity in the listing. So if people want to buy all 10, fine. They want to buy 4, they'll buy, 2 sets of 2. What you can't do and what you shouldn't do is what you were saying before, where you and I've seen people do this. They take a picture of the whole set and then they're like, pick out what you want and I'll give you a price. It's like, no, that's not what you're trying to make it easier on yourself. But but then
you make it harder, because then if someone's like, okay, they pick 2 plates in a bowl, and then the next person that comes, they're like, okay, I'll take those 2 plates in a bowl, and then
those are gone,
and then you have to say those are already there.
It's just that's.
I mean, that's how we do it. We'll, for instance, a couple months ago, we were at a thrift store, and for $3, I bought a box of,
I think it was like Noritake,
like stoneware, but
yeah.
It could be china. It doesn't matter. But it was a cool pattern. It was $3. We came home and we put all the plates, all the big plates, or like 5 big plates, 3 small plates, 4 cups, 2 saucers, a creamer. Yeah. And then those were all a separate
their
things.
Own listings.
Yes. And that's
and
the
they've
best
been
way
selling.
to do it.
I think almost everything has sold.
Yeah. I mean, I understand what he's trying to say, but eBay doesn't really make that happen. So the best thing that you can do is just break it up into as small of pieces as we're willing to sell. Like, I'm not going to sell each piece by itself because it's like him. It's not worth it.
It's not worth it, yeah. And also, like, generally people don't just need one.
I will say, though, there is a seller that I follow.
Yes.
Both of us do. And they know their China.
They know their China. Oh,
they sell, I don't know where they get this stuff. They find patterns. They will sell one plate for like $300, and they'll have like 10 of them. I mean, they'll sell plates or pieces of china for like $800, and to me, it looks like anything else I see at the thrift store. I mean, what I'm assuming is they go to estate sales, and they know the pattern, and they're probably willing to pay a couple $1,000 for like
the whole set,
you know, a 50-piece set, and knowing they can part it out. But I'm just like, and then like, who buys that stuff? Like, that's so like, I don't know. Like, does anyone eat food on a $500 plate? Like, so nuts.
Apparently, somebody does.
Okay, you can check out where we live at scavengerlife.com. That's
online, that is.
Digital life. And that's where we'll have any links we talked about. And you can join the forum over there. We hope that you do. You can leave a question or comment on something that you've heard today.
The phone number is 540-407-8486.
If you're new, we do post an episode every Monday. Sometimes it's Sunday night, but it'll definitely be there on a Monday. And then on Wednesdays, we post a video that shows what sold. And our friend Steve, he makes that, and he does a really good job.
He does a great job.
He sells different kind of stuff than we do in some cases, so it's good to kind of get that. And then on the forum, people then will list stuff that they sold, and some people even make a video and post it there. So it's really a good place if you're new to kind of see what sold, how much it sold for, how much you bought it for, all that stuff. You can subscribe to iTunes or through YouTube. We have another podcast at shampooandbooze.com if you're interested in hearing about our rental business. And I will always like to remind people that we do have a rental. A vacation is rental that we rent, that you can rent, and you can find that on our website.
On shampooandbooze.com.
Yeah. And you can find it, on shampooandbooze.com. So if you'd like to come and meet us
and see our vacation rental, it's there. Okay, we are ending this podcast in 3, 2, 1.
Bye.